Welcome back to Let's Talk Harlingen. I'm Mayor Norma Sepulveda.
And I'm Cassandra Concilio.
We're here to keep you updated, informed, and connected to your city.
Let's get into it.
And in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Harlingen. This is episode 24, and we have a great episode in store for you. But before we get into it, Cassandra, how are you doing and what's going on around town?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you so much. And of course, we have so much going on. And this weekend specifically, we have a clutter clear out. So you can take all of your stuff that is not easily disposable. We have a full list on our Facebook. You can get that information there. And you can take it to Rangerville between 8 to 12. And so this is a really important program that we have with code enforcement in the city of
Yes.
Harlingen because a lot of people have like tires and things that they're like, I can't just put this in my normal trash can, but they need to get rid of it, right? And we
Right.
definitely don't want it in the streets, so where it could fall into where all the water collects. We wanted to make sure we have an area for it to be collected, and that's what we're doing this Saturday from 8 to 12 at Rangerville. So everybody put it in your calendars. If you have something to dispose of, get out there to Rangerville.
Right. And so it's at the park on Rangerville Road, which is in District 4. However, you do not need to just be a District 4 resident. It's citywide. So all that information, great information on our City of Harlingen Facebook page. And I think the website as well. So that's great info. Anything else that our listeners or our viewers need to know about?
So that's really what's happening this weekend. I know we're gonna have a busy season coming up, so everybody can get some rest, go out to the parks, enjoy it. But this episode is really informative, I believe, because we're
Yes.
still in our city department series where we have been going through all the city departments and we're learning about the director, we're learning about the staff, but we're really learning about the mission of each department and what they accomplish and where they're located and what they do. So we really are getting to know the departments for the community to know. Sometimes you think, oh, it's the city, and well, what department and where are they located? What are their working hours, right? They're not all the same.
Right.
And so this is just part of it, right? Today we're going to have the planning and development department, and we have Ana Hernandez here today. We're going to have a really nice interview with her and just really understand the role of the department and everything that they cover. There are some departments like the planning and development department that have a lot of staff and they have multiple departments within a department. And, whether it be a commercial or a residential, everybody really sometimes gets to pull a permit.
Right.
And you would say, well, how do I start? And Anna is definitely the one who knows all of that information. So we're going to have a really good interview with her.
I'm excited. I know, being on this side of things, I see all of the hard work that goes into each of the departments. And, it's kind of, this is a big team right here at the city of Harlingen. But I would say that the planning department is really crucial to the future of Harlingen. It, goes hand in hand with our EDC, and we've had Beverly and Orlando and the team from over there on. So I think it's great that now we're going to have Anna and kind of see what that side looks like. And I think it's important. I hope that, I want everybody to watch every episode, of course, but this is one to watch from beginning to end because it is really important information.
And I always want to say sometimes we talk about topics and we say, oh, well, there's more information on the website and there's more information on our Facebook. And again, you could always make a meeting, set an appointment with the director or of the head supervisor of that department as well. I think
Right.
all the directors are very responsive of like, oh, you have more questions, like let me help you. And sometimes they will walk you through the steps, right? You need to pull a permit for something. And I'm sure is going to direct you in the right, path. And she's going to say, you know what? Let me see if this is actually the path you need to take, or if you need to go a different route. And they've been coming up with new stuff for the community. So Anna's going to tell us a little bit about how they're making things easier and better for all of the Harlingen residents.
Well, all right, let's get into it.
All right. Well, you're going to talk to Ana Hernandez, the director of the Planning and Development Department, next. We're excited to welcome Ana Hernandez, AICP, our Director of Planning and Development for the City of Harlingen.
Anna is a local government professional with over 14 years of experience in planning, community development, and grant administration. She joined the city of Harlingen in July 2020 as the Mobility and Special Projects Director, and now serves as the Planning and Development Director, where she continues to lead key initiatives that shape the city's growth and mobility strategies.
Her work directly impacts how Harlingen grows responsibly, making sure we balance economic opportunity, mobility, and community character.
The Planning and Zoning Department reviews zoning changes, subdivision plats, the development projects to make sure they align with our city's comprehensive plan and vision. They help ensure that Harlingen continues to grow in a way that's sustainable, organized, and beneficial to residents and businesses alike. Welcome, Ana Hernandez.
Hello, guys. Thank you for having me.
We are so happy to have you. I know you've been waiting. We've done a lot of departments, and yours is a very important one. Yours definitely keeps our city in a good plan path, and it's a good way for us to know, to make sure we're in good hands. And we definitely believe that with you.
Awesome. So, let's just get into it. I know that
Mhm,
this is something that the community always has questions regarding planning. I know that I probably contact you quite a bit. So does the commissioners, city management, because you really run a department that touches people within
mhm,
the city of Harlingen, and so it's really important for our community to understand. So let us know. Just give us an overview of what
mhm.
the planning department does and how it supports Harlingen's growth.
Yes. So planning and development is really a department that touches everybody's lives on a daily basis, whether you notice it or not. And so we are entrusted with enforcing regulations and ordinances, which are not always the most fun things to enforce. We are responsible with upholding standards related to zoning or zoning ordinance, our subdivision ordinance, as well as the international building codes. And we have three main divisions, which is the current planning, and typically that's what people think of planning, but it's technically zoning. And so those are the daily zoning and rezoning applications, special use permit applications that come in through our office. And so again, that's current planning. That's what's happening now and probably tomorrow, right? And so we also have another division, which is the buildings. And building deals with building inspections, building permits, plan review, which is very important. We want to make sure that commercial development that comes in or residential development that comes in, they meet all of our building codes, and so to ensure that safety of the public and the people that live and occupy those buildings. And we also have another division, which is the code compliance division. And the code compliance division is in charge of, making sure our city looks its best and making sure that we preserve the character of our neighborhoods and as well as making sure that we have tidy commercial streets and corridors. Sorry, am I okay?
That is a lot, and
Yes,
yeah,
it's a
no,
lot of information, Anna. So as
Mhm,
we kind of say like, oh, the
mhm.
planning department or the planning and development department, and you're located at Launcy Hill,
Yes.
and you
Mhm,
are you guys you have a special department in there.
mhm.
All three divisions located in Launcy Hill?
Yes. So the Planning and Development Department is located at 502 East Tyler. We are at the building that is commonly called the Launcy Hill building. And so there's other departments as well within that building. But as far as our department, we have all three divisions located there.
so those of us that grew up, and I'm aging myself, remember that
Hmm.
building as the library before
Yes,
the
absolutely.
big
Yes.
library, and
Yes.
so that's a place. I think Harlingen is a little different than other communities in that you see, even in the smaller communities, I've seen city halls kind
Hmm.
of built from the ground up and really making sure that everybody is together, which I
Hmm.
think is important, and maybe that's something for the future of Harlingen. But here in Harlingen, we have multiple buildings,
Hmm.
at least City Hall and the Lunsey Hill building aren't too far
Yeah.
apart, but, because they really complement one another and work together, but we also have another building
Yes.
that is further out, so we've got, like, 3 buildings where we've got, different departments housed, right? But yours, I think, is really, really crucial, really important because of how you mentioned it touches people's lives,
Hmm.
and so maybe we can go through each of the of
Divisions.
the divisions
Hmm.
within your department.
Yes.
Starting with planning, what do people need to know? I know that that's your passion. I know when I
Yes.
first met you,
Yes.
you were working
I
on
really love
grants,
it.
which
Yeah.
you're still working on grants, and
Yes.
you're such a bright individual,
Mhm.
and I'm glad that you're at the helm of the planning department, and that's something that you've wanted to do always. Like
Mhm.
that's what you went to school for. This is what
Yes.
you want. So tell us a little bit, like for those that are watching that don't really know exactly what it is, what that entails in the planning, division within your
Yeah.
department.
So again, so the planning division processes different applications, and so basically land use, anything related to subdivisions, anything related to zoning applications, special use permits, which we do have quite a bit of special use permit applications, which is a little uncommon, but it's something about it tells you about Harlingen and how they want to protect the character of the city. And so, as far as planning, so yeah, so it's been really a passion of mine. I think working here in Harlingen for the past 5 years and doing applications, kind of like it allowed me to work on the fun part of it, like planning, like thinking big picture, setting the vision for the city in through different projects. Like, I mean, we have done so many things as far as like funding projects related to the trails, park improvements. The terminal as well, the transit terminal. And so it's been a lot of fun, but now I get to also deal with the regulatory side, which is not the so much fun part of it, but it's very critical. And so, and luckily, we're working on making some improvements and trying to streamline the process. I've been in the department for 3 months, and so I am really excited. Like based on what I've seen, we have very committed staff. Obviously, we have a lot of work to a long way to go, but I'm really excited about what's to come as far as, ensuring that we can make the process as streamlined as possible and predictable, which because people that are coming in, they want that predictability is very important for developers. We want to make sure that if someone comes in, they have the same experience and, they can say, oh, I was able to submit A, B, C, D, and, they get their permit or their application process, right away. So to
Well,
avoid delays. Mhm.
I want to share with you, we were at a groundbreaking for the extended stay
Yes.
hotel, and got to talk with the developer and also the builder and just everyone that is
Mhm.
involved in that process.
Right.
And that's like multi-million dollars, right? That they're
Mhm.
investing in our
Yes.
community and talking about the need in our community. And, people, I don't think fully realize that when a business decides to come to Harlingen,
Right.
especially these like a hotel or a big franchise, they do feasibility
Oh,
studies.
yeah.
They do so much research to see, am I going to be successful? What is my
Mhm.
return on investment? And so when they chose here, they chose, the city of Harlingen because we have the medical sector. We have a lot of what I call them the flying nurses because they come in and they work for a period of time and then they move on to another area. We hope they stay here, but this
Right.
gives them an opportunity for a place to stay that isn't, you're not committed, right?
Mhm.
But the reason I share this with you is that they said we have built these type of establishments all over the country, and Harlingen was such a pleasure to work with for.
Mhm.
And I'm always like, okay, I hope it's going to be a good
Yeah.
feedback, right? So
Yes,
you
yes.
got my ear.
Yeah.
And he said, tell your staff that, they're
Mhm.
absolutely amazing.
Mhm.
It was seamless, the process went smoothly, and that's the kind of feedback that we want to
Absolutely.
hear, right?
Yes.
That what the changes that you're implementing are working.
Mhm.
And it's great to hear, positive feedback, but we also
Yeah.
encourage people to give us, you know, the constructive
Yeah, all
feedback,
feedback is good
right?
feedback.
And so it definitely doing a great job. You were
Mhm.
there and they were just
Yeah,
very,
they're really
very
happy with you.
happy.
They said, we had never, gotten all our applications in faster than us, like, getting to the groundbreaking
Mhm.
ceremony, so they were
Yeah.
really thankful, and I think we discuss here a lot of, like, the city commission meetings, and you present a lot to city commission,
Yes.
and a lot of it is SUPs and, um, redistricting, opportunities, and, there's certain districting in the city of Harlingen, and I want
Rezoning.
rezoning,
Rezoning,
right,
yes.
I'm sorry. And so if you could kind of explain to us your process of
Mhm.
explaining to a developer or residential or something, how do you get to present to commission?
So the process actually happens a while back before we get to commission. And that's
Mhm.
something that, I always try to emphasize. We try to tell them it might take between 1 and 2 months. And it sounds like, right. And so, but it's necessary, right? So we need 10, 14 days to advertise whatever application that comes in. But let me pedal a little. So if someone submits an application for a rezoning, we meet with them, we kind of guide them, we ask them like, okay, what is it that you open, is whether it's a business or new construction, whatever the case might be. And so we talk to them, we guide them through that process. They submit the application. We have to advertise the rezoning or the special use. We
And how do
advertise
you
in
advertise it?
in the
Yeah.
newspaper.
Okay.
Yeah, it comes out on Saturdays. And then we also have to, by law, right? We have to notify the neighbors within 200 feet of whatever property is being rezoned. And so technically, if something's happening in your neighborhood, you're bound to find out because we're going to notify. You're going to receive a letter in the mail explaining, basically what the person is petitioning, and then, the zoning change, and basically that you have a couple of public hearings that you can attend to basically voice any concerns that you may have about the development. And so we have basically, so it goes to the noticing, the mail outs, we call it like that. And so after that, it goes to the Planning and Zoning Commission. And at the Planning and Zoning Commission, Planning and Zoning is a very important city board. And so they basically recommend or deny, proposals that come in through our offices. And so after they recommend, that's when it goes to the City Commission for final approval. And so in the case of special use ordinances or special use permits, those get approved by ordinance. So ordinances require 2 readings. And so even though they have a public hearing the first time and it gets approved, if everything goes well, they still need to wait for that second reading. So there's 2 city commission meetings, 1 PNC meeting. So all of that process in a nutshell takes between 1 and 2 months.
And so I think sometimes
Mhm,
it's, important to remind the community
mhm,
and those that are looking to invest in our community
mhm.
that these are regulations that not
Yes.
the city, it's not city of Harlingen
Mhm,
saying this is what we want to do. These
mhm.
are requirements, these are
Yes.
mandates on local
Yeah,
governments
state
to make
law.
sure
Mhm.
that we're following the process. And
Right.
so that's the reason why we want to make it as efficient as possible,
Mhm.
but you have to go through that notice period, the public hearings, the P&Z
Yes.
commission, all of those. So by the time it comes to us at the city commission, it has been fully vetted.
Mhm.
There's very detailed notes of each of the process that has that a particular project has undergone. And then there's recommendations, and
Mhm.
sometimes, like you mentioned, they recommend approval,
Yep.
or they say, you know what, we're
Mhm.
we're going to leave this for the commission to decide, or we're not going to recommend approval. We recommend that you deny this
Right.
application, right? And
Mhm.
before it comes to us. But for those that don't understand, because I know when I took this role, obviously I'd never been in local government before. I had to really truly study and kind of immerse myself in all things planning to fully understand. So to rezone, like, give folks an example because I understand it, but for
Mhm.
the average person, they're like, "What does that even mean?"
Mhm.
So can we talk about like maybe rezoning from a general district to a neighborhood district, or
Mhm.
just give an example of what that looks
I
like?
think I think the simplest example will be there's areas in town that, let's say, if someone's looking into annexing area that is, in the ETJ, which is basically anything outside city limits, right?
Mhm.
And they don't have a zoning because they're in the county technically, right? Or the
Right.
ETJ. And so imagine that, you want to build a subdivision development, or you want to create a project that's single family homes. You need to go through the process to get assigned a residential zoning, which is single family district.
Mhm.
And so that will be like the easiest, most basic rezoning request. There's a lot of misconception as far as like zoning that is commercial in
Mhm.
nature. We call it general retail, GR. And so even though you have the commercial zoning in Harlingen, that doesn't mean that all of the commercial uses are allowed. And so this is why it's important we have a use chart in our zoning ordinance. And so it's always important to kind of look at that chart. That basically dictates what uses are allowed. So one example we have received, like, at a lot of smoke shops or things like that. You see, even though that's a commercial type of business, they are not allowed with a special use permit. And so you
Mhm.
still need to come to our office and apply for a special use permit application. So again, so there's a lot of nuances as far as, what's allowed versus what's
Mhm.
not. And so the most important thing always is to come to our office and kind of ask,
And
talk
get
to
that
us.
information.
Yes, get that
Right. So
information.
if
Mhm.
somebody is, for example, somebody wants to open bar and grill,
Yes.
right? They can't just say, "Oh, I found the location. I'm
Yes.
gonna be open next week," right?
Yes.
It's just, there's steps that you have to
Yeah,
take.
usually we
Um,
have distance requirements, and so
right.
we looked at schools, churches, just to name a few examples, and we need to make sure that you're within a certain distance, right? And so again, when in doubt, just always come and to our department and ask or call
And
us.
ask. I know that you
Yes.
probably have like so many meetings set up because you
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure that the business, it's able to open.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And maybe necessarily it's not where they want it or where
Mm-hmm.
they imagined it to be
Yeah.
because of the restrictions. But, I think restrictions are important because we don't want our city to be all looking crazy. They're
Mhm.
there for a reason. And I think it's probably a little bit difficult for you, right? You don't want to be like, no, sorry.
Yeah. Right off the bat, right?
Yeah. So is there like online you recommend them check out on like an ordinance
So
list
so
or
we do have resources online. The one thing that I do want to make sure that everybody knows is we offer pre-development meetings. Pre-development meetings are basically like they happen every Thursday. And you can just call us and say, "Hey, I would like to set up a pre-development meeting with you all." And so we invite representatives from key departments like the engineering department, fire prevention,
Water.
health, Harlingen Waterworks, just basically like the key departments. And based on your business, so basically we collect a team of experts, subject matter experts, and they tell you that they review your proposal, and then they give you advice as to what regulations you need to comply. And then I think at that point is like that early on you're able to kind of
guide everybody in the right
well,
place?
yes, and then I mean, I guess save time, and
Yeah.
making sure that the property that you're looking at is the right property for your business or
I didn't know
your
about
project.
that Thursday afternoon or Thursday. You
All
set
day.
aside the full day for
Yes,
people
all
to
day.
do that.
And it's
Yes,
free.
And
it's
it's
free.
free. And it's at
It's
the
free.
Launcy Hill from 8 to 5.
Yes,
But they do need to give
they
you
need
a
to call us. Yeah, so
yeah,
Make
we
an
make sure that we
appointment.
collect
right.
Make an
everybody.
appointment. But
Yes,
that's a really great
yes,
opportunity for the people of
hmm
Harlingen. Pre-development meeting is going to save you time. It's going to save you money,
yes.
and you're going to be more successful in the long run.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's
Hmm.
important because I know that, we've seen a lot of
Hmm.
growth in the city of Harlingen, and I think that people are looking at Harlingen as a place where they want to come in and participate in
Hmm.
in this growth, especially when it comes to new subdivisions, and then of course at all different price points. And it's important for developers, in my opinion, that
Hmm.
are not familiar with our community to really do their homework, and they can get a lot of those answers from talking to the planning department.
Right.
And I know that when developers come into our community or individuals want to invest, I always tell them, what my experience has been throughout the city because development in one district can look completely different in another.
Hmm.
And when you talk about notifying the communities, we know in the city of Harlingen where there potentially needs to be a little more um, just
Investment. Hmm.
investment in terms of maybe the development where you're at isn't going to be connected to sewer,
Yeah.
right? That's a
Hmm.
huge issue. And I know that sometimes people have these great ideas and then they think, oh, well, I'm going to be able to tap in to
Yeah.
this lift station. It's going to be so simple when
Yeah.
really it's not.
Hmm.
And so I think that it's crucial before you sign on the dotted line, before you start to expend money, to get the information that you need, and you
Yes.
get that in your department. And having these pre-development meetings can really answer some of those questions, along with our, just like everyone else does, providing notice to the neighborhood.
Hmm.
We know in which areas where you're going to get a lot of feedback from the
Oh yeah.
communities to come out and say, hey, I want to know more about this, because this is close to my home. So I want to be able to understand what the project is going to look like, whether it's a subdivision or it's commercial,
Yeah.
right? Those are things that are important, and you get that from the individuals that are in those fields
Hmm.
and that are do it day in and day out. And that is a way to set yourself up for success. So I don't know if that happens in all communities, but I'm really grateful that here
Hmm.
at Harlingen that this is something that y'all
Yeah.
offer because it's definitely helpful.
Right.
So that was the division number 1, and we got 2 more to go, right?
Sorry.
No, I
Tell us
think
about number two,
we
Anna.
definitely need to get in detail because this is your opportunity to tell
Right.
the public about it.
Okay.
So the second division is
So the second division is the building permits,
Okay, building
or
permits.
buildings, and
We
so
need, like, sound effects for
I
this
know.
one.
Buildings.
And so that's actually the one division that I have my eyes on right now
Mhm.
because,
Does it give you headaches, Anna?
I mean, it's, they're all good. We have very hardworking staff and very knowledgeable staff. I think the one component that we're working on is making sure that we kind of shift that mindset between being enforcers to facilitators. And
Mhm.
to me, that's something that I'm trying really hard to make sure that I get that across.
Right.
I feel like sometimes, staff has been there for a while and it's like they get the same question or the same type of response, and they get discouraged, right? And
Mhm.
so but I think overall, I think we're doing we're trying to kind of move in the right direction. And so building permits, they're responsible for reviewing plans and, building plans, site plans as well. And so making sure that everything meets the building codes. And we have the latest, we're probably one of the few cities in the whole RGB that has the latest adopted codes, which is the 2024 edition of the ICC suite of codes. And so we make sure that, basically the staff makes sure that, people, the buildings, whatever construction that is happening, whatever alterations or modifications, are going to be safe and people can occupy those buildings without any concern or any fear that, anything might go wrong with the building. And then we also have, within that division, we have our group of inspectors, basically our building inspectors, and we have two senior inspectors and two new inspectors that have come to the city, within the last 2 years. And they are responsible for doing inspections all day long, every day. And so we have a great team. They're very knowledgeable. They have all the required certifications. And they're a very strong unit. And so we also have one commercial plans examiner. They're both called plan review examiners, but one of them is mostly reviewing commercial developments, and another one is reviewing residential developments. And so they're doing a fantastic job as well. And so they make sure that, for instance, that holiday, what is it, the hotel
Extended
Mhm.
stay.
extended
Extended
Yeah.
stay,
stay.
that project was actually, they submitted the permit application online using our new online permitting software, the Click to Gov. And so they went through that process. They were wonderful to work with. I mean, they knew what they were doing, right? And so anyway, so this unit will be the one that reviews the plans and, issues the permit once everything has been complied with. Um, and then as far as the other divisions, we also have the code enforcement or the code compliance division.
Yes, code compliance has to get there so
Yes.
people make sure their grass is cut, right?
Yes.
And I always want to find text dot, but I don't think we're allowed. Are we
Right.
allowed?
We're not
No.
allowed. We're not
There's
allowed,
a
I
hierarchy,
continue
unfortunately.
and we're
I
we're
continue
yeah.
my
Yes.
quest. So
Mhm.
code compliance is something I think that everybody knows who code
Oh yeah.
compliance is,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, probably, yes. So I mean, they have a really tough job. They're
They
like out
do.
Yeah.
there in the field telling people like, hey, what not to do type of thing. Nobody likes
Mhm.
that, right? And so they have a very tough job. But they're fantastic, like we have 4 or 5 code enforcement officers, I mean, including the supervisor. And they take a lot of pride in their work. And so anyway, so they are responsible for, like, identifying those weedy lots, junk cars or junk vehicles on the actual premise, on the actual lot, not on the right of way, and just things of that nature. So yeah, they're really busy day in and day out.
So I want to kind of circle back to
Mhm,
the building,
mhm.
the inspectors in that division because it's really
Yeah.
important. And so I think that just for our viewers, this directly impacts like small businesses,
Oh yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And so for a small business or maybe somebody that's watching that says, I want to open in the city of
Mhm.
Harlingen, what kind of tips can you give
Mhm.
them in order to be ready
Right.
for that inspection?
Well, I think for overall, right? So,
Overall.
so we actually just came up with a handout for small
Mhm.
businesses. It actually tells you exactly like where to start, which is check your zoning all the time. Don't assume that because it's commercial, you're gonna be able to go in. Don't assume that because it's a bakery, you can go and open your bakery. Sometimes that's not the case, right? There's things that, maybe the building was grandfathered for some reason or legally
Right.
non-conforming for whatever reason, and it might not work out for you. So you may want to check with us first. And so start with the zoning. You want to make sure that you start with also with checking if if the area or the land is subdivided.
Mhm.
Whether it was properly
That's a
subdivided.
huge one.
That's huge. And
Mhm.
so that could actually derail your development because
Right.
it's going to take months and months and months
And money.
yeah, and money. And you need to hire a professional, right?
Mhm.
And so it takes a lot. So you want to make sure that's the case. Again, you don't know, come to our offices, we'll let you know, right? Gladly. And then the third step is actually once you're ready to open, like let's say you do have the zoning, let's say the land is subdivided, everything's good. Then you need to come in and apply for a change of use or a reoccupancy. And so, change of use, you're looking at an existing site that maybe doesn't need a lot of changes, but I'm sorry, that it requires a lot of changes. I'm sorry, change of use, and you want to make sure that you submit a plan, your floor plan, you submit our application, and then you schedule our inspections. And so for reoccupancy is basically the same thing. Like someone used to the place used to be a hair salon. You go in, everything checks out, they comply with everything. You just basically submit your reoccupancy application, and then you get an inspection, and then boom, you're ready to go. You're
You
approved.
hope they didn't make any changes, right?
Well, yes,
Right.
Illegal
yes.
changes, and then
Yeah, but
And
that's part of
that
the inspection process. We check that.
correct.
Mhm.
And so yeah, and I usually tell people before, and I know that we've
Mhm.
had the EDC on here and we have some really great folks over at the
Mhm.
EDC that help with this too and kind of handhold and then take them over to your department to
Yes.
get more information. But if you're looking to open a small business
Mhm.
and what you're looking to open
Mhm.
was what occupied the space before,
Yes.
chances are it's going to be much
Yeah.
easier for you to be able to
Yeah.
get the green light
Mhm.
quickly and get to opening, grand opening day.
Yes.
If you are, for example, you want to, like you said, you open a hair salon, but
Mhm.
it used to be a flower shop. Well, you need to kind of plan on
Yes.
ensuring that you give yourself ample time and don't
Yes.
schedule yourself that grand opening until you've come
Yes.
talk to your department. And
Yes.
and maybe unless you're purchasing the building, you might be better off in a different location
Yes.
because it's going to save you money in the long run
Mhm.
based on, the improvements that you're gonna have to
Yeah.
make in this specific building. Would
Right.
that be
Yeah,
accurate?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously there's no guarantee, right? Sometimes
Right.
there's like circumstances that you don't know about, but I think generally that's a good rule of thumb. And again, you want to check for those things like parking.
Right.
If you are planning on a party place, you got to have the parking because just
And
by
parking is
code, I know,
expensive.
and by
That's probably
code,
the most
we
expensive.
you need plenty of parking. And so
Mhm.
again, those are some of the tips that we actually
Right.
offer in the handout. The one thing that I always tell everybody is please do not sign a lease. Please, like don't go buy that property like without checking with us first because
Yep.
it's gonna save you a lot of money in the long run because we're a regulatory department, right? We're supposed to enforce ordinances.
Mhm.
It's really hard if you come later or after the fact
Mhm.
and then you want to deviate, right? Or you want an exception. And
Right.
so that's a very lengthy process. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's just that it can be avoided if you do your
Right.
due diligence.
I think that's the best tip,
Hmm.
so far is
Hmm.
that I talk to small business owners all the
Yeah.
time, and they wanna expand or they wanna go to a different location, and I
Yeah.
always say, "That's wonderful. I love that, you've got that entrepreneurial spirit."
Yes. And we want to support
But
them.
but yes, we wanna support you. Let's see how we can best support you.
Hmm.
Go visit planning, go visit, the small business department within the EDC,
Yes.
see what you need to do before you invest any money. That's super important.
Hmm.
But I wanna jump back in. I know it seemed like Cassandra was real excited about code enforcement,
yeah,
but
because
it because that is important, but we need to talk about it
Hmm.
because, we all know, right? It's like you drive by and you see, a house that has they haven't cut their grass in, like, forever.
so we do want to talk about code compliance
Hmm.
because if there's like privately owned business that is maybe not being maintained properly, and somebody's saying, "Why aren't they doing anything about it?" What? And then
Hmm.
I already reported it. Or I already called City Hall. Walk us through the steps of what happens through that situation.
Well, I think the main takeaway is that people need to understand that it's a process. So the department is called code compliance. We're trying to bring people into compliance with whatever is it that they are in violation of. And so the code enforcement unit, they're responsible with responding to whatever call or complaint that comes in. And after that, they're supposed to give them up to 10 days to, give them time to comply with whatever issue. And After that, if they don't comply, that's when, the code compliance officer is going to give them a citation. And so at that point, they still need to go through the municipal court and go through that process, and that takes time essentially. And so I think one of the things I want to, make sure that the public knows is that we're actually working on it. We're actively working on it, but it's just the process that takes, a number of days. And so, again, we're not ignoring your request or your concern. It's just that we have to work with the person that we're
And they
gonna
might not
side.
live here.
That too.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's change of ownership, and we're dealing with the previous owner versus the actual owner. And so we gotta start the process again, and we discover that throughout the process. And so, that has happened recently with the Jack in the Box. That was a big thing. There was social media blasting, that we were not the city wasn't doing anything about it. And the reality is that our unit has been working with the former owner for months, and he was getting, citation upon citation, and he was just asking, wasn't as acting on it. And so they went through municipal court. For some reason, something happened there, like he got dismissed because he was not the current owner. And so we had to start,
The
working.
process all over again.
Yes. But so anyways, so that took a while. I think they're actually working on it at the moment. They remove I think I don't know if it was a cloth material. They
It
removed
looked
something.
like that, yeah.
Yeah, so they removed that, but they're in the process of submitting, a permit application so they can change the sign.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
like,
Hmm.
just because somebody might have reported a building that's grass is, 4 feet high,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean they're going to run out there and cut it immediately just because you reported it to
Hmm.
City Hall. There is a process that,
Yes.
takes at least minimum 10 days, right,
Yes.
from the beginning of it. But so you get fined. It's a monetary fine or
I mean, yes, and that's up to the municipal judge if he wants to determine that.
assigns the fine
Right.
on a like per case basis?
Yes.
And I
So,
think I
hmm
think that is a key component, and we probably need to invite our municipal judge on
hmm
so that way we can kind of talk about that too. But I'm really glad that you touched on that,
hmm
especially with the Jack in the Box sign.
hmm
And I know everybody in it's a small community, so you drive by it, you see it, and some people they drive by it and oh my goodness, it's like the most important thing
yes.
for them, and they will constantly call and call and call and call. But the issue is that you don't need the multiple phone calls. One call
Hmm.
is it, right? You
Yeah.
get that one call, you open up a case, a
Yes.
ticket, and you go through the
Yeah.
process. And so the key takeaway I think for people is that you are listening,
Hmm.
and you care
Yes.
deeply. You
Absolutely.
want the city of Harlingen to be beautiful. We
Yes.
all do, but we have rules that we
Yeah.
have to follow.
Yeah.
And the city of Harlingen, as much as we want to, we can't go onto private property
Mm-mm.
and make improvements. We have to. The goal here is compliance, like you mentioned, and
Mhm.
so that we hope that people will take corrective action.
Okay.
But when they don't, you go through the process, and just because they go to court and they get a citation and they get fined, doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to immediately make the change
Right.
either. So there's
Mhm.
just so many layers, and I think what we need in our community, I don't know if you would agree, is for people to care enough, right?
Mhm.
We want owners to take pride in
Right.
their businesses, in their curb appeal. We want homeowners to take pride in their homes
Mm.
and their,
Mhm.
their lawns, their gardens. And if we all collectively start to care more about Harlingen, then we'll be in a better place. We
Absolutely.
definitely have a great team over at Code of Compliance, and a lot
Mhm.
of people that have been there for a long
Oh, yeah.
time, and they do a great job. But
Mhm.
there are certain instances where you do go in and make some changes when it comes to grass, right?
Yes.
So for people to understand, because I get the calls all the time, and sometimes it's not within our jurisdiction. A lot of times it's off the expressway, and I know Cassandra wants to find TxDOT, but
I'm calling you.
We're
we
not gonna
can't
do
we can't do
that.
that. But things that
Mhm.
are, so they'll
Mhm.
say, "Oh, okay, there's this building, it's an abandoned building and the grass is overgrown." And so there will come a time where the city will actually come in
Yes.
and cut it, and then we bill them for it.
Yes.
But tell our viewers how long that takes. Like, it's not from one day to the next.
No, I mean, and also we look at whether the applicant, or I guess the person that we're citing, is responsive. Either saying, "Hey,
Mhm.
work with us. Can you give us an extension?" We'll do that.
Mhm.
But if they're not responsive, they're probably out of town. They're not. They just
Absent owners.
don't care. Then we actually like decide to go in. So it might take, I mean, up to, I don't know, 20, 30 days,
Mhm.
because we want to give them the 10 days to
Mhm.
comply. And then if they require an extension,
Mhm.
and then after that point, we decide to go in. We put them on the list of mowing properties. And so after that, the work is complete because the work was, done as far
Mhm.
as, mowing the grass. We place a municipal lien on the property.
Right. And then they go to
Hmm.
court and they're like, "We already complied, don't give us a ticket."
Like,
And then our
no.
judge says, "Well, you complied because the
We
city
made it.
went in and
Hmm.
and kind of." So the city or your department
Hmm.
works really closely with the municipal court.
Yes.
I know your code enforcement officers are there in court.
Yes.
There this is and she's really good too, our judge. She gives them even additional time to comply because the goal is a beautiful Harlingen, not let's overburden our constituents
Right.
here, our residents here. And so maybe, especially if somebody's suffering some kind of hardship or something, right?
This
Or
happens more
that
than
yeah,
often.
there's issues
Mhm.
and say, "Hey, you know what? Like I was dealing with my sick mom and I couldn't get to it and I was out of town for 3 months and
Yeah.
I'm sorry." And then we'll work with them, right?
Hmm.
But for the most part, I think the goal from this segment
Yeah.
is for people to know you're not ignoring
Mm.
any calls. All of them, get the attention that they deserve. It's just a process.
Right. Right.
I feel like we've gone through the three divisions, and I really want to know what is a key initiative or project that you guys are focusing right now.
Well, right now it will be the comprehensive plan. We have a brand new shiny comprehensive plan, and that is going to be adopted this Thursday. Hopefully, everything goes well. There's a joint commission between the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Commission, and so that plan has been underway since, I mean, before I took over. I think it started back in November of 2024, so last year. So it's been almost a
2024.
year.
Yeah.
And it's been underway for, several months. And so we're at the end now. And so the responsibility for us is to make sure that, we're able to implement recommendations, and making sure that we get on the initiatives and the action items that are listed in the comprehensive plan. We're going to have a new future land use map, which is really important. That's basically how that's going to guide development in the city. And then the next step is actually adopting the new zoning, or zoning amendments, or zoning updates. And so that's coming hopefully in the beginning of January, February timeframe. And so those are two big initiatives. Hopefully, will make things a little more predictable, a little more streamlined, and a little more modern, I think, overall. And so I think if I could do one thing as part of my tenure here as planning director, is to modernize the planning department here. We're still pretty much, running on paper and things like that, and kind of used to doing things because they've always been done that way. And so that will be one big change, I think, for everybody, that would allow us to help better serve our customers. And because we want to take care of people that do business here, and our small businesses, and want to make sure that they understand the process, as well as the out of town developers as well.
Mhm.
So we want to be able to accommodate everybody. And so again, internally, we are trying to change the culture, again, doing that shift, making sure that we're able to facilitate processes, and do things faster. Hmm.
Well, we're really excited. I know that we've got that meeting coming up,
Hmm.
and we'll probably cover it here.
Hmm.
We might invite you to come back, but it's really important for people to know that we're listening and that we have really taken this very serious. And
Yes.
and this we got about $300,000 grant to
Yes.
do this
Yeah.
comprehensive plan,
Hmm.
and so really focus lots of community engagement, public engagement. We got experts to help us,
Yes.
consultants to help us and then really, speaking with the different departments. And I know the commission had lots of input also. And this is going to help because we have had lots of changing and zoning and things of that nature. But this hopefully will cover some of that and
Hmm.
and and make things go by a little faster because we are predicting where the development will be,
Mhm.
and that will be a more seamless process, and you can cut time off of someone's development, which will, I think, entice people to come into Harlingen.
Right.
Tell people, when was the last time that they adopted a comprehensive plan here in
So
Harlingen?
the last comprehensive plan was probably done around 2014, and I think it took a while to get it adopted for some
Mhm.
reason. And so I'm not sure what happened. So it's been a long time. But I think one of the first assignments that I got to work on when I started working here in Harlingen like 5 years ago, was to actually go over the comprehensive plan, even though I was not in the planning department. I'm
They
not sure
saw
how that happened.
vision, they
Not sure.
saw potential.
And they told me just basically go back, talk to every single department in the city, and report back. Seriously, like, and report back and basically tell us how many things out of the action items we have completed. And
Mhm.
it turned out that we actually had done quite a bit. And I think the plan served us very well, but I think it's definitely time for, okay, so what's going to be the vision for the next 25 years? So I'm
Right.
excited about, what's to come for
We definitely,
Definitely.
yeah, we're gonna have to have you come back on when it's adopted, if it's adopted, and hopefully it'll be online. We can
Mhm.
tell our viewers to download
Yes.
it if they want to maybe
Mhm.
consume it a little bit slower, and
Right.
Mhm.
and that way they can really understand. And I love that report card that you said that we got a lot of our action items done. That's
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah, and so
Yeah.
that one's actually published. I think it's in
It
the planning department
it is,
website.
and most
Mhm.
of our and so my biggest issue, like, when I came on board,
Mhm.
I was like, "Okay, we are working with a plan that is of the past,"
Yeah.
right? And we've
Mhm.
evolved so much as a community, as a society. Technology plays a
Yeah.
huge role, and how do we move forward? We're constantly adopting things and say, "This aligns with our comprehensive plan." One vision, I think,
One Harlingen,
One
yes.
Harlingen,
Mhm.
and it's like, "Okay, that's fantastic that aligns," but that was then, that was
Mhm.
10 years ago. Here we are, and that's why I'm constantly telling Anna, look at things and make sure it makes sense.
Right.
It sounds so basic and
Yeah.
simple, but is like, let's put common sense into this, and let's make sure that what we're doing meets the moment right now. And so I
Mhm.
think that's what this is about, to make sure that what we're doing, we can move forward, and we can do so in a way
Yeah.
where we can truly grow and not waste all this time with the small stuff, right?
Right.
And really look at the bigger vision.
Mhm.
So we've got that. We got the parks plan. We got the downtown plan. We
Yes.
got a lot. So we invite everybody to come out, and just really observe what we've got going on. It's going to be fantastic.
Mhm.
I don't know. Do you
I
have
would
any
say
other?
no, thank you so much, Anna. I feel like we are getting to know the planning and development department. We learned a lot today,
Hmm.
and there's always more to learn, and so it's available on our website.
Mhm.
And of course, you can always set a meeting with Anna or anybody in the planning and development
Absolutely. Mhm.
department. And I love learning about the Thursday afternoon or Thursday full day
Full
of
day.
Pre-development.
pre-development
Mhm.
meetings. That is so key for anybody just interested.
Mhm.
And at the old library or Launcie Hill, the planning and development department is there. Is there
Old is
anything
old.
you want to leave the viewers with? Any kind of information you want to let them know?
That we're here. We're a resource to y'all. I mean, I know we're going through a little restructuring, some changes, so just be patient with us. But we're hoping to be back online, like with uh, our processes, making sure that, everything runs smoothly. And so before again, any development related questions, please call us. We'll be happy to help you, guide you through the process. Mhm.
Well, thank you, Anna. And we are going to have you stay. We
Oh,
have
yes.
we have a very fun segment here. It's called Let's Talk Harlingen Questions, where we ask our audience to email us at let's talk harlingen at harlingentx.gov questions. And we only answer questions that are emailed to us, not Facebook comments or things yelled at the street. Only ones that are emailed
Sounds
to
like a
us.
Taylor Swift
Oh
song,
no.
And
right?
if we do read your question online, you get a Let's Talk Harlingen Yeti. And so we will email Christina. I'm not going to say her last name, but I will definitely email her back. So we have a question here. And because you're here, if you have the answer, you're more than welcome to
Okay.
jump in. And I'm going to read it right now. So Christina says, Dear City of Harlingen Communications team, I hope this message finds you well. I'm writing to submit a couple of questions for consideration in your upcoming podcast. I appreciate the opportunity to engage with our local leaders and learn more about the exciting progress happening in Harlingen. Here's my question. You mentioned recently that Harlingen is experiencing the strongest period of growth in history. What are your top two priorities to ensure that this growth benefits all residents, including lower income and underrepresented neighborhoods? And then, with new investments and increased property values, how is the city guarding against displacement of longtime residents or rising cost of living? Thank you for continuing to encourage community dialogue and transparency. I look forward to hearing and discussing this.
So this is a real
Mhm.
important, I think, question and something that we really dealt with when we were going through the comprehensive plan in
Mhm.
terms of housing and at different price points. You want to talk about a little bit about what we discovered?
Right. So I think one of the very unique comments that we got for the housing section, I guess, of the comprehensive plan is there's definitely people one, our community is actually claiming, the need for affordable housing, which I think goes back to that question. And then but then there's also this other element, which is, people also want luxury housing so we can accommodate those, the medical district professionals and things of
Mhm.
that, people, white collar, I guess, jobs. And so I think there's a lot of development, residential activity happening in our city. Like
Mhm.
just from January to date, like we had over, 700 lots that are being, developed in or one stage of the development process. And so we do have developers in town that are actually catering to that affordable
Mhm.
housing market. So I think that's already happening. I think the market dynamics are kind of,
Changing.
yeah, changing, but they're also making that possible, I guess.
Oh, wonderful.
So I think we
Right.
have a little bit of both. Our I would invite this person to read the section of our comprehensive plan that talks about housing and it
Mhm.
explains all the dynamics. And we also have programs available through the city that basically encourage, affordable housing construction, but also subsidizing
Right.
people, right? Home buyers with down payment assistance. We have now, CDB that's done through
CDBG.
community development and CDBG. And just so you know, this is something that I hadn't mentioned, but we just issue permit waivers for one of our developers here in town. It's a local developer, and they're doing affordable housing. And so I think within my first
Is that South
two
Texas
months, yes.
affordable? Yeah.
So within the first 2 months, I think I issue or approve, I want to say 15 permit waivers.
Mhm.
And so I
Wonderful.
mean that's key to that, that
I think that that is definitely and, I just wanna take a moment
mhm.
to kinda talk about that a little bit, and so when I first came on board there, I did talk to a lot of people in our community
Yeah.
saying, housing is out of reach, right, for us. Everybody wants the American dream, but we can't afford a
Mhm.
house today, right? Not just in Harlingen, but anywhere,
Anywhere,
and
yeah.
so the affordable home has, the definition of that has changed, right, with values of homes going up and things like that, so I met Mr. Bobby Calvillo, who
Mhm.
recently passed away, but he was just a phenomenal man, and he worked really hard in Hidalgo County to provide affordable homes for people in the Upper Valley. And I, really wanted to work with him to come to Harlingen
Mhm.
and to provide these opportunities. And so the reason why they get waivers is because these individuals they come in, they build homes, they build the house, they build the home, they're the broker, they're the developer, and they do all these wraparound services for the community that they are building. And so it helps them making sure that they understand financial literacy, making sure that they understand how to be successful, working on their credit scores. And even if they don't have the best credit score, since they serve as the lender also, they're able to help them and at a interest rate that is similar to someone that is just going in with a perfect score in like a conventional type
Right.
loan. So these are opportunities, and I'm excited for that development to come into Harlingen because we want to see the transition from people dependent on government to be
Mhm.
able to fight to have a home, to have that independence, and to transition out of that type of housing and have a home that's within reach and that it's not going to be predatory, right?
Right.
Because there's all these other types of organizations out there that'll give you a high interest loan or a balloon payment, and that's not the way this is set up. And their model, they've been around for a long time. And that's something that I worked with Javier,
Predecessor.
yeah, your
Mhm.
predecessor. And I know that he was, very, and he has promised to come back at that ribbon cutting,
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
because
that's
I
it's,
guess we'll
nice.
see
yeah,
him again.
yes, we will. And so we're real excited about that. And those are the kinds of things that are happening in Harlingen. So to the viewer, we are paying attention. We want to make sure that
Mhm.
there's housing at every single price point, from affordable housing to the luxury living. We
Yes.
want to have all of that here in Harlingen, but we're going to do that responsibly with intention with our comprehensive plan. So this has been such a delight. Thank you so much, Anna,
Mm.
for being here. I know that this went a little longer than anticipated, but lots of good information. And you did phenomenal informing
Thank you.
our community. And
Thank
so,
you.
for those that don't know, this is amazing, Anna. And we hope that they reach out and look for you over at the Launcie Hill
Yes.
department building,
Building.
and for the planning and development department. Thank you so much. I don't know if you have
No,
anything
thank
else.
you, Anna. We look
Mhm.
forward to reviewing the comprehensive plan next time. Our next episode is going to be focused on the city commission recap, where we talk about everything that went down at the city commission meetings. I know sometimes they can go long, but we're here to kind of wrap them up and tell the community what's going on. And again, we want to thank you. We want to remind everybody that they could go to Launcie Hill Building. They can come to City Hall. They can set appointments with any director if they have questions about things that we talk about here. And they could always email us so we can know what they're thinking and hopefully we can answer their questions. So we will see you definitely around town. Thank you guys.
That's it for this episode of Let's Talk Harlingen.
If you like what you heard today, make sure to subscribe on our YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.
We've got more conversations coming your way. Let's talk again soon, Harlingen.